What's up YouTube, it's Sup TCG here and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about our options after rotation because everyone wants to know what are the next draw engines, what are we going to do with a couple of cards that are going to be rotating, like for example Pokéstop, Bibarel, Radiant Greninja, Rotom V, Gift Energy, all of those draw options that we previously had access to. As you all know, rotation will come full in effect as soon as Journey Together comes out over in the West in the beginning of April. So we definitely need to take a look at which options we're going to have left and how we're actually going to be updating specific decks. So hopefully you guys are excited for today's upload. If you are, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in many ways. I always appreciate it. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, subscribe for more content like this. So as mentioned, the most prevalent draw cards in today's metagame is Radiant Greninja as well as Rotom V. These are like in almost half of the decks that we take a look at. Think about Charizard, think about stuff like Lost Box, yeah, think about the Lugia deck in general. Lumineon V is also some sort of an engine you could call. So all of these cards will rotate. So people are already like panicking. Note to self is that decks can also rotate completely. Think about Regidrago VSTAR, Palkia VSTAR, yeah, Lugia VSTAR. All the VSTARs will go away. All the Radiant cards will go away. So we're going to be taking a look at some options we currently still have left in the format after rotation. So you can already purchase these while the prices are cheap. So with that being said, Mew EX is a very cool draw engine because not only does it come packed with free retreat, which is always a great pivot and always a great Pokemon to lead off with, you're going to have access to the restart ability. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 3 cards in hand. Not only is this great, you can also have an attacking Pokemon by your side if you're having ways to accelerate energies, meaning that you can sometimes use the genome hacking attack as a bonus to copy paste the opponent's attack with Mew EX as well. But more importantly, if you get Iono to a low hand size, if you get Unfair Stamped, you're always going to have Mew EX to rely upon just to draw cards. And it could be yeah, an engine in general if you're playing a lot of insta-playable cards or cards like a high amount of Ultra Ball. So you can empty your hand and then draw back up with Mew because, as mentioned, Mew EX also stacks. So you can, once during your turn, draw cards until you have 3 cards in hand, play all those cards again, and then use your second Mew if you want to. Just note to self that you have to be careful of bench space. It also combines pretty sweet with the Scovid that we have access to from the Scarlet and Violet base set. With Nestash, you can actually shuffle your hand and put it on the bottom of the deck and then yeah, draw a card. That means if you have a card that you have no cards you can play, like if for example you already attached an energy and the deck, actually your hand is full of energies and supporters, you already played a supporter, you already played an energy, and you might think, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do anything anymore. You can use Scovid, put those cards on the bottom of the deck, and then draw 1 card, maybe play that card as well, then restart. That's very cool indeed. Another great draw engine that is currently overlooked is the Dunsparce. Once during your turn, you may draw 3 cards. If you drew any cards in that way, shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your deck. So the Dunsparce could also be way more popular after rotation, as we of course are losing Bibarel, and also a lot of decks that typically say like, oh, I just have Radiant Greninja on my board, I have a Phasmidipity on my board, that's enough to just carry me through the game. Well, if you want to have a setup-based deck, you're going to have some draw power, and that's what this video is all about. The Dunsparce is definitely going to be seeing more play after rotation because the aforementioned cards like Bibarel and Radiant Greninja all rotate out of the standard format. Another couple of cards here is Revavroom as well as Cleffa. Both of these cards actually will become better. Revavroom in general, as mentioned, Bibarel will rotate as well as Radiant Greninja. So decks like, for example, Gardevoir EX, which also lose the Refinement Curlia in the process, will maybe run Revavroom instead. You must discard an energy from your hand in order to draw cards until you have 6 cards in hand. So that's actually pretty cool. This Revavroom also stacks, so if you have 2 of them set up, you can keep using the ability. And another great thing is that you have synergy with discarding energies, stuff like, for example, the Psychic Embrace of a Gardevoir EX, or yeah, something like a Raging Bolt, which needs energies in the discard to rely upon Professor Subtle's Vitality. These are like all combos that could happen because, as mentioned, Radiant Greninja is also gone. So Revavroom, it is a stage 1, just like the stage 1 we saw previously. The other stage 1 was the Dunsparce. The Revavroom doesn't shuffle itself into the deck, but if the deck is playing a lot of energies, you can actually make quite a big use of the Revavroom. Then there's Cleffa. In the beginning, Charizard players only relied upon Rotom with the insta-charge. We're also losing Forest Sealstone, so a lot of consistency will actually rotate out of the standard format. And the Charizard players were actually used to just going for Rotom, draw 3, and ending their turn that way. But since you're not doing anything on the first turn, you might think, oh, I could Badoo the opponent, just put him in an item block. But if you want to have more setup, Grasping Draw might be the better answer. As mentioned, Charizard, you could also update that with TM Evos instead. But if you're going for TM Evos, you're actually not drawing the puzzle piece, so maybe Cleffa can see its way in more stage 2 setup based decks. But will it be enough to stop Badoos? I don't know if Badoo after rotation will also be the powerhouse it currently is, but we'll have to figure that out when the cards actually rotate out. So Cleffa, Revavroom, these are actually cards I would actually stock up on maybe a 2-2 line of Revavroom, maybe 2 copies of Cleffa, having a very tick like maybe a 4-3 line of the Dunsparce, just in case you want to be making some combo based decks. 2 copies of Mew EX would be great, and a Scovit. So these are like cards I definitely would put in your binder, just because if you want to be making very consistent decks after rotation, these are definitely going to be cards you're going to be needing. Other cards that are very good currently and will still remain currently actually good after rotation will be Squawkabilly EX. It also allows you to draw cards without the power of Luminion V. That's going to be a pretty interesting way. You're going to be able to do at least something useful, definitely on your very first turn. You don't have Pokéstop anymore. You don't have Radiant Greninja anymore. So if you have some sort of synergy with energies in the discard pile, think about a Raging Bolt deck, for example, that once energies in the discard pile, you could be adding in more copies of Squawkabilly, maybe even 2 copies, depending on how many Nazball or Ultra Ball you're playing. But more Squawkabilly will definitely be necessary because Pokéstop is gone. We're going to be seeing a replacement stadium very shortly in this video. But now you know you need more Squawkabilly in your life because, this is going to be one of the main draw engines, definitely in some Stormbar of turbo-based decks. It's already great and it will not stop there. Dracloak is a stage 1. It is currently played in Dracapult EX decks because it's the stage 1 Reckon Directive. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them in hand, put the other one on the bottom of the deck. I might also see a small line, maybe a 2-2 line of Dracloak and other decks besides like Dracapult EX decks, because you might use Dracloak as your main way to draw cards. It is just a one-price Pokemon, and it can be a great inclusion if you're going for something like, I'm going to give you a little example. Let's imagine you're playing Chimpao, for example. You could be going for the Revavroom route where you can easily draw back up because Chimpao finds energies. But in other decks out there, you can be relying on Dracloak where you don't play a lot of energies because the Revavroom only works if you're playing a high amount of energies. If you're not playing a high amount of energies, you're most likely better off playing Dracloak or the Dunsparce. I think in that sense, the Dunsparce might be the better choice, but Dracloak is also something I want to be mentioning here because if you want hand advantage, it's actually going to be pretty great, and this also remains on board. Phasantipity is seen playing like literally almost every deck. Allows you to draw 3 cards if you get knocked out, so that's definitely a staple you need in your post-rotation binder. Okay, continuing on, we have some more consistency. There is still the Noctowl engine, and the Noctowl engine is very great if you're playing Terra Pokemon. Terra Pokemon, very prevalent. I could definitely see something like a Charizard Noctowl deck performing well because you're no longer relying on Rotom because Rotom has rotated. You can go for the Cleffa route, or you can go for a Noctowl-based version where you're actually playing maybe a couple of Terrapagos in there as well, so you can easily find your Terra Pokemon, and then as soon as they're out, you can use Noctowl with the Jewel Seeker, getting any 2 trainers from the deck. Imagine you want to have like Rare Candy or Prime Catcher, it's all possible. Maybe a very aggro Charizard way could be definitely an interesting way. We could be playing Charizard unless Badoo is very popular, then maybe TM Evo is the better strategy. We have Goldango EX, allows you to draw a card, or if it's in the active position, you can actually draw 2 cards, and maybe people could test out a 2-2 line of Goldango. I've seen it before with TM Evo based decks where they actually slide in a Goldango. I've seen it before in Japan, by the way, so you can also use Goldango in specific decks out there just to draw cards. It is possible. It's also having a higher amount of HP than, for example, a one prize, I would say a Dracloak or a Revavroom. Then there's Pidgeot EX. If you're able to get that out, you know it's already very busted. You can use the quick search every single turn. So instead of just mindlessly drawing a lot of cards, you can just get any card you want out of the deck with Pidgeot. As mentioned, I could see Pidgeot seeing more play after rotation, maybe with TM Evo and a couple of Pidgeotos. So you can get that engine established. So we're talking about here about drawing engines. We have the Noctowl engine, the Pidgeot EX engine. You can go for a Dracloak. You have access to the Dunsparce. Mew EX can be a draw engine, as well as your early lead Cleffa or a Reverum. So as mentioned, there is still a lot of drawing cards in the format. So it is not the worst rotation we've ever seen. I've seen way worse rotations. I know the cards that are going to be really painful is like Radiant Greninja, because that was sometimes the bread and butter when you're creating a very consistent deck. Oh, I'm going to be including a Radiant Greninja now that it's gone. Bibarel actually saw not that much play in the last couple of months during its lifespan, so that is least of your worries, because most decks were relying upon Rotom V and the Forest Sealstone combo. Definitely with Arven gonna be less popular, although you can still use TM Evo strategies with Arven. You no longer have Forest Sealstone, making Arven a little bit less good in those decks. And also very turbo-based decks like that are relying on Pokéstop might have to look forward to a new stadium card, and it's going to be Cycling Rogue. About these, we're actually taking a look at decks like Roaring Moon EX, for example, as well as Raging Bolt. Both of those decks relied upon to Pokéstop to just get not only energy in the discard pile, but get a lot of items like Earthen Vessel, Pokemon Catcher, all those cool item cards. Well, no longer. You're going to have a very deep way to dig through the deck. You're going to have to rely upon Cycling Road. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard a basic energy from their hand, and then you can draw a card. This is actually pretty interesting, because not only do you get handed knowledge, you're also, of course, not the hand knowledge, you're getting hand advantage, you're getting an additional card, and then once the energy is in the discard pile, you can start using cards like Professor Sawdust's Vitality, which is very great for stuff like Raging Bolt. For Roaring Moon, I know Dark Patch rotates, so that's going to be really hard to just power up. But there's always other ways you can get some energies into play. You might think about the trumpet with E-Switch to just get your Roaring Moon started. So there are definitely options to adapt your turbo aggro based decks, but without Pokéstop, it's going to be a little bit slowed down. There's also Tinkaton. I don't personally believe Tinkaton will see any play, but it's also you can play a 1/0/1 line, and if you're playing Candy, if you get the Tinkaton out every single turn, you can discard a card from hand, draw 3. Very powerful if you ask me, but wasting a Candy on that and Badoo in the format, I don't believe it will see play, but it's definitely an option that is still on the table after rotation. There's Pelipper, believe it or not, with Luminion gone. That allows you to actually, if we evolve into Pelipper, choose a supporter from your deck, which is very great, or choose a supporter from the discard pile. So that's actually pretty interesting. It's an effect that works very great in the late game, very good in the first couple of turns. But as mentioned, it is a stage 1, so I don't know if it will see play, but maybe people will test out the Pelipper. Then we have Togekiss. Togekiss already sees play in Goldango. I don't know if you want to be playing this Togekiss. The other Togekiss allows you to just cheat out additional prizes, but this one allows you to draw cards and to have 8 cards in hand. So maybe if you're taking a look at, I want to be including Tinkaton, maybe Togekiss is the better way, because every single time drawing cards until you have 8 cards in hand is quite great. So once at the end of your turn, after your attack, you may use this ability and then draw cards until you have 8 in hand. This is not that good as Tinkaton, as the opponent can still play an Iono, but it is also a way you can draw cards post-rotation. Xatu, if you're playing a Psychic type deck, could also work, because it allows you to accelerate a basic Psychic energy from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon, and then you can draw 2 cards. So again, hand advantage is pretty great to just also include into decks. I know stuff like Dracloak is a little bit similar. This actually only works if you can accelerate an energy. Then we have the Enriching Energy. If you accelerate that to one of your Pokemon, you can actually draw 4 cards. It's actually pretty interesting, as this could be something like you can penny loop, for example, accelerate an energy, and then the following turn you penny it up, accelerate the energy, draw 4 cards again. So there's definitely a world where I could see this working out in some sort of a control-ish archetype. Then there's still the Awakening Drum for ancient decks that allow you to draw a card for every ancient Pokemon in play. So that's also a draw way. Tealmask Ogerpon, also in a lot of decks in the format. Think about Raging Bolt, Regidrago V-Star. Even though Regidrago V-Star rotates, it's not going to be yeah, card you will always see that at the top tables because drawing a card and having energy acceleration is very good. And then there's also boxed order. There are decks out there that currently just say insta charge, but maybe you're playing like 3 copies or boxed order or something, and then you just go for boxed order, get your like double rare candy, and if the opponent uses Iono, it's bad, but they will have to have it in hand because Lumineon V is no longer a thing. Sometimes people could be playing Poke Gear to find your supporter of choice. But boxed order could do the same thing like a Rotom. Rotom just draws 3 cards. This can get any 2 item cards. So note to self, it's very weak against Iono, and it also ends your turn. Maybe you're better off using Cleffa, but it's definitely an option I want to be giving. So if we take a look at the options we have with the decks, Radiant VSTAR Rotation, Charizard can rely upon Cleffa. Maybe you could also play Noctowl with Charizard, so that's an option. You can upgrade that. Raging Bolts is still relying on Ogre Pawns, but that new Cycling Road could help out, and maybe a higher amount of Squawkabilly could be a great way. Raging Bolt can adapt. As mentioned, Noctowl could also be used with that. Lugia just rotates. Tropico still has its engine, but the problem, like with Fan Rotom as well as Noctowl still around, is great. You're gonna have to rely upon the Glass Trumpet in order to just get energies because, as mentioned, the DTE is rotated. Dragapult still has Dracloak and Cleffa, so that's great. Gardevoir EX will have to rely upon Revavroom, in my opinion, to just be still viable. I don't know if it's going to be as good as it is currently. Snorlax block rotates. Hello, let's go. Cloth loses DTE and it will be very hard to just do anything with Cloth unless we get an upgrade. Lost Box rotates. Palkia rotates. Goldango is a draw engine by itself, but without Radiant Greninja, maybe adding in Revavroom could be a nice way as you're playing a lot of energies regardless. Roaring Moon loses Pokéstop, but could rely upon Cycling Road, a Glass Trumpet, and E-Switch combos to at least be a little bit viable. Iron Thorns doesn't lose all that much, but it does lose the double turbo energy, so it will have to rely upon stuff like Crispin. Ancient Box is still alright after rotation. And yeah, there's a lot of decks out there that don't actually get removed. They still have ways to get an engine going. But the most problematic ones I currently see is like Terapagos, because I don't know without DT is going to be too reliable, as well as Gardevoir. If you have to rely on Revavroom just to get draw going, you have to play a lot of rare candy, but a lot of your attackers are still around. So yeah, these are like updates or drop cards, consistency draw cards I want to mention here. But note to self, this is not the only cards we have access to. We also get the new cards in the Journey Together set, and that's where a card like Iono's Kilowatt Troll can come into play. It allows you must discard a lightning energy from this Pokemon, and then you draw cards until you have 6 cards in hand, and the Belly Bolt allows you to accelerate energy. So definitely will be used to draw cards. And then we have the one, the only Zoroark EX, and Zoroark EX allows you to just discard a card from hand in order to draw 2. That's instantly better than the Goldango already, so that could also be included in decks. We've seen before that Zoroark EX back in the days of Shining Legends saw play with Golisopod GX, it saw play with Gardevoir GX, saw play with Lycanroc GX, so a card that's universal to draw a lot of cards with a lot of hit points will definitely see play in a lot of top decks, and a lot of people and players are rejoicing the return of Zoroark EX. So yeah, that is the run through. So definitely invest in all the cards I mentioned in this video. You definitely want them in your binder because creating decks, or actually deck building, is the best part of the Pokemon TCG. And if you have them already in your binder, that makes the process quite easy. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in many ways to support the channel. I'm always super grateful if you would do so. And as usual, yeah, if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. And yeah, check out the sponsors of the video as well, DragonShield.com. Yeah, stock up on sleeves, binders, and deck boxes for the new year 2025. So you don't have to worry about that aspect of the game. And you can get 5% off on everything on the website now. So definitely use the coupon ZapBoost5. Link down below. TC Evolutions for your ability tokens, VSTAR markers, damage counters, 10% off using the coupon ZapBoostTCG. PokeStop.com for your TCG Live code card needs. You can get 5% off, and you also have the codes at instant email delivery, so you don't have to wait for them. Just buff your TCG Live account today, and you can get 5% off using that coupon code. CARDMARKET.com for European players, where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. You can use the referral name TCG to help support the channel. And with that, I say goodbye. We will see a lot of Zoroark in the future, so I'm very excited for Journey Together, even though that only comes out at the end of March. Note to self is that the rotation will also come into full swing, I think on the 11th of April, so prepare yourself, stock up on all of these cards, and you'll be good to go. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon with more Pokemon TCG content. Peace!